Whew, it's been a while since I did one of these. Sorry for the wet hair. It's wash day. Gonna be quite honest, it's been a while for me doing these mental health vlogs because I really did not have it in me. It felt like I got comboed by both the seasonal sads and just life in general just wasn't working the way I needed it to work, and my brain was just not functioning. And just getting in front of the camera to talk about the things that I could, like what I do for the Bonnet Chronicles, was getting hard enough. But to sit here and try to be open and candid about what my mind is going through while I'm going through it. I'm never going to be able to do that comfortably. I know some people love to wear mental health as an accessory when they do awful things or when they're feeling irrational. They have no problem sticking the camera in front of themselves and showing you that side. I wasn't raised like that. When I am feeling irrationally angry, when I am feeling awful or sad or hurting, I don't want to highlight that. And I'm sorry to those that think I should. I don't think that will validate or invalidate what I'm going through. And with the last few years, even, I've made good strides. I got my book finished, published. I'm so thankful to those of you who gave the story a shot. Yes, I am attempting to get the second book written out, but that is going to take time and I'm not making excuses. For somebody whose mind has so many scattered thoughts, the story that I'm trying to formulate for the second book is in pieces. So for me, it is added burden of taking the pieces, putting them together, making sure they're not rambling, and making sure they're coherent. Because I want to tell a decent story for these characters without you going, wow, I am lost. Where is she going with this? And it's why I was so happy with some of the reviews that said the story got right to the point. I liked the way it flowed. I want to be able to continue to do that. And having bipolar schizophrenia means it will take me a little bit longer because I have to deal with the mood days. I have to deal with the shutdown days. And life is starting to feel a bit stale and stagnant for me too. Even though I am starting to notice some of the exercise and payoff, I know that my weight loss is slow. I wanted it to be that way because I want it to be steady. I didn't want rapid weight loss because every time I've rapidly lost weight and got to that so called skinny phase, I gained it back double. So I've been working really hard to slowly get it down. And I can feel it. I don't know if people can see it. I don't really care because I ain't doing it for that. But I can literally feel that I can do more things than I was even able to do 2 years ago. And it feels good, but I also know that it's a process and it's a lifelong process. So, I don't know how else to express that. But my personal life was starting to weigh heavy on me. A lot of people know I've been dating my best friend for over 6 years now. And it's been happy times. We've been close for over 20 years. We met in an online game. He is legitimately my best friend. He is the only person that can 100% say he has seen every side of me. I do not hide anything from him because I feel I needed to. And then when we realized that, yeah, we mutually like each other, it made it even better because I didn't have to wear a mask around him. I didn't have to hide any aspects of my personality around him, and it was nice. And I feel like when you have that kind of relationship, it just makes it easier, especially after coming from somebody who didn't want me to be who I was, who was constantly trying to forcibly mold me into what he wanted, and just a bad situation. It's nice to have a partner that appreciates and wants to be with me, but it was starting to feel stagnant because I don't think a lot of people know, and I'm not ashamed of this. I worked hard in my early 20s and right before my 30s. I worked several jobs, but including a corporate job. So I paid into a system that probably won't be here if certain people have their way when I'm old enough to collect it. And when I had my nervous breakdown back in 2003, it really opened my eyes that life is not going to be as easy as it used to be. I'm not going to be able to just deal with it and push things to the side. My brain said no. And still, I was prideful. I did not want the government handout and all that other bullshit that I used to hear from my family constantly. I fought so hard against doing what should have been natural. You cannot work, you have a health issue. Get the help that you paid for, Tim. And that was from my friend Rebecca. I'll never forget the advice she gave me because I was being so stubborn about getting this help. So adamant that no, I'll figure it out. I'll get hired somewhere. It'll be fine. And it wasn't because it is so much harder when your mind just can't deal with things. And no job wants to put up with your shutdown days or your unstable days where you feel like you can do a million things at once, but you're not getting much done at all. And the reality of the situation is it makes you unemployable. You can get hired. I legitimately love that my psychiatrist said, I believe you could talk your way into anything, Tim. But it is a misconception that people like you can handle everything. You believe and you want to believe you can. And with medication and counseling, a lot of us can lead semi normal lives, but workplaces are still not geared to understand mental health, and they don't seem to care that you have days where you just cannot. And until we get employees and employers that understand that, people like me are stuck. And in 2009, after being denied quite a few times and getting a lawyer, because that's the only way you will be able to do that. And fortunately, at the time, being with my family again, I had access to the ability to get lawyers and stuff. I was able to get on SSI, and I'm not ashamed of that. It is not a program, it's not a free lottery. It's way less money than I was making, especially being a corporate bookkeeper, but it was a stable, steady income that I could use to take care of myself and my child, which I had at the time. And I don't think people understand that when you're a single mom, it's either that or welfare, and welfare is way worse to me. And it's not because I think I'm too good for it, it is because of hoops that you legitimately have to jump through, depending on the state you live in, especially just to get funds to take care of yourself and your child is dehumanizing. And I refuse. And it is so infuriating that they make it seem like you're trying to get something for nothing. Not that you're using this money to pay bills, to take care of your kid, to make sure that you aren't homeless. So, yeah, it was a no brainer to me that SSI was a better choice for Kiddo and I than to try to get on any state aid. And because of the dynamic of escaping my partner, state aid isn't always offered because they seem to think that somebody who literally harmed us and could put us in harm's way should know where we live and other bullshit things that put those of us who have survived such horrors in danger. So it wasn't worth it. And even now, I get limited food benefits now for my son, which will probably be cut off next year when he turns 18. But to say that it isn't a struggle because they wanted my ex to somehow be involved, and it's just not worth it. But to bring it back to my relationship, because as you can see, I am now engaged. It should be a happy time, and it is a happy time on one level, but it's a scary time for us because though we have the book out now, though we are putting out content, though so many of you have been amazing with following me on Twitch and here on YouTube, and we're growing our community steadily. It is a scary time because the moment we go from just being engaged to actually saying I do, my benefits are gone. And I'm not saying that for any of you to come out of pocket. I believe that, especially in this digital day and age, it is hard to know when somebody is just relaying stuff to you or when somebody's trying to fleece or grift you. And that is not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show how unfair it is. My illness is not going away. I am going to live with schizoaffective disorder for the rest of my life. And unfortunately, most of the people who have what I have, which is a combination of both schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, it is a precarious time. I lost my shit the other night because when you're with somebody for 6 years that you know he's your one, he's the person you want to grow old and gray with, you want to have that future with, and it's not moving forward. And you start to feel like maybe it's me. I was with people that constantly made me feel less than, constantly made me feel that I should do better so that I can be worthy of them. I was constantly under this impression that I was not good enough. So when I'm with somebody who they say they love me, I love them, but it's still not moving forward for us. We aren't really going backwards either, but we are not moving forward. It started to fester in my mind that maybe he's just here because it's comfortable and there's nothing more. Nothing else is going to come from this. And I was wrong. And talking to your partner, especially when you have these issues, is the best way to make sure, because he made sure by putting this ring on my finger to know that he had wanted this for a while, but he wasn't sure how to approach it. Because once again, once we say I do, once it becomes official legal marriage, once we live together fully as man and wife, I no longer will be able to qualify for SSI, or the benefits will be so reduced, I might as well not get them at all. And for some reason, our government seems to think that this is okay. And I'm not lambasting the entire government. I know the ones who really set these archaic things into place. But to penalize disabled Americans who rely on disability, who rely on SSI to survive, to not end up in the streets, and tell us, okay, well, the trade off for that is if we didn't give it to you before you got married, you can't get married. You can't have a better life for yourself and your kids, because that proves to us that, if you're okay enough to marry, you're okay enough to work, or whatever bullshit excuses they want to give. Chronically disabled people shouldn't have to choose between finding love and happiness and having financial stability. But that is the sad reality of many of our situations. And just getting married for me means I have to work a lot harder, not only on putting out content, but on making sure that the book sells, making sure that the next book is written, not taking 10 years to get it done. And it is going to be a lot, but I'm not as scared of it as I thought it was going to be. I can't speak for my partner, and I see the look of worry in his eyes, because we legitimately cannot afford to be a one income household. We just can't. Those days are over, and I don't think people understand that. In order to just live comfortably at this point, not even to just survive, to be in a neighborhood where we don't have to worry about feeling safe, to have food and access to it, to have access to a decent school for kiddo, we have to make sure that our incomes are decent enough. It's just the reality of living in this country and probably any supposed first world nation. So it is a scary time. It is probably going to be a harder time, but it's a time of hope as well. And I know that I am far from the only person with chronic disability, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, that has had to struggle with the decision on whether or not it's worth it to take that step forward with your partner and lose it all. But it is the reality of our situation. And I'm grateful to everybody who gave us thanks and congratulations. And to the people who were like, we thought you were married already. That's how close Axiom Wolf, Greg, and I have been for the longest time. When I say best friends, I mean that. Like, honestly, it feels good to have somebody that I can be 100% my genuine self with at all times. And him, I. So moving forward, I knew it was gonna happen, but it felt like so many things were in the way of it happening. And it sucks that we legitimately have to worry about that looming. Well, a big chunk of your finances is about to go away if you do this. And it's just not right. But it honestly is the way this country is set up. They are not geared to take care of the chronically disabled and to not dehumanize us in order to say, hey, you want financial taking care of? You have to live this way for us to honor that. And I'm hoping that if we keep electing people that understand that that can't work, that it'll be less of an issue in the future. I don't believe that people like me will benefit from it, and I'm fully okay with potentially losing benefits in the near future when we do cross that threshold. It just sucks that so many people have to make the choice of staying alone in order to survive. And I'm hopeful that by putting this vlog out and letting you see the human face of somebody who not only survives with my illness, not only survives with the chronic pain and fatigue, but continues on because that's all we can do. When I say that our state reps need to do better by the disabled, when I say our national reps, including our president, need to start seeing how this system is stacked against our humanity, stacked against our ability to thrive and continue on in spite of our illnesses. I want better. And I think it can happen, but we have to elect those people that see that our benefits shouldn't be taken away just because we decide to get married. That our benefits shouldn't be threatened because somebody decides one day that, oh, schizophrenia isn't bad. These people show intelligence, so why can't they work? Oh, they hear voices sometimes, they shut down emotionally sometimes, and most employers don't want to deal with those mood swings, but they should be able to work because their illness isn't as chronic as somebody with a physical thing that I can see. Navigating my illness has been a really troublesome road, and not wanting to be a burden to my partner looms in the back of my mind, and it depresses me. It's been a really hard time, and it has been really hard for me to not feel sad about this, but I am lucky and fortunate that my partner has never made me feel like I've been a burden to him. But I can't help the voices that have been a part of my head for a long time constantly warning me that could be messed up, Ted. So that's all for this week. I just really wanted to let you all know what was going on, give you kind of feedback on why sometimes it does take a bit longer for me to put more of these mental health vlogs out. Because honestly speaking, when I am having those moments, I don't believe that there should be a camera in front of my face. I got a kid. And I don't think people understand that either. Yeah, it would probably make me a ton of money and get me a bunch of views, but it could also put my parenthood in jeopardy because people love calling CPS on people when they look unstable and stuff. And while my child, as far as I know, is well fed, taken care of, I would give him the moon and stars if I could. I know that my actions and my antics reflect on my whole house. That's the way I was raised. So I don't need people seeing me when I'm having those low irrational points. I don't think that is content. And I'm not sorry for taking time away from these things when I know that mentally I'm just not feeling that. There's just a line and a limit that I refuse to cross for views. And I hope that anybody watching these can understand and respect that. I do not think my illness is a carnival to display. And it is hard enough to navigate people's perceptions of what crazy, as they call it, is without dehumanizing and demeaning myself to get content out. I can't do it, and I won't. I won't do that to myself. I won't do that to my partner, and I sure as heck won't do that to kiddo, because how people view my household reflects on them, and I just don't want to embarrass my family. That's just the way it is. So I thank you all who tune into these. I thank you all who share these. To all the new subscribers, I appreciate y'all all so much. Yous are helping me out in ways that I hope you understand one day. I appreciate it. So I'm going to wrap this up, and I will see you all hopefully the next week or so with another mental health vlog. Honestly, with the seasonal sads, I never promise anymore these things will be regular, but I do want to try to get a more regular schedule out there, because honestly speaking, I am going to need to start putting more content out. And I believe that I can talk at least a bit about my past and some of the things that I went through in a way that doesn't tell too many of the people involved's business. And I'll just figure it all out as we all go along. But I'm gonna wrap it up because I'm starting to feel rambly, and I will see you all soon.